Let's get something straight right from the top. Most men talk themselves out of attraction, not because they're ugly, not because they're broke, not even because they don't have a six-pack. It's because they say the wrong things at the wrong time, and then wonder why the energy changes, why she just wasn't feeling it, or worse, why she ghosts. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some things you say will destroy the way she sees you permanently, not because she's mean, not because she's too sensitive, but because words create perception, and if your words trigger the wrong perception, you become unattractive, fast. We live in a time where men are being told to express themselves, be vulnerable, and speak their truth. And yes, there's value in all of that. But not everything you feel should be said out loud, especially not to a woman you're trying to attract. There's a difference between being open and being unattractively weak. There's a difference between honesty and self-sabotage. Attraction is fragile, and most men have no idea how quickly it can die. Not from cheating, not from failure, but from one wrong sentence. The moment you say something that changes how she sees your strength, your direction, or your edge, it's game over. Now, this video isn't about lying. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding male power and knowing when to shut up to protect it. You don't win a woman over with emotional oversharing, self-pity, or over-validation. You win her with self-control, presence, and knowing what not to say. So let me walk you through 5 things men say that kill attraction instantly. If you've ever had a woman lose interest out of nowhere, one of these might be the reason. This isn't feel-good advice, it's real talk. It's hard to hear, and it's going to hit home for a lot of guys. 1. Stop telling her you're lonely. Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Telling a woman you're lonely doesn't make her feel closer to you. It makes her feel responsible for your emptiness. That's a huge turnoff. When you tell her you're lonely, it might feel honest. You think you're being vulnerable. You imagine she'll feel sympathy, maybe even admiration for you opening up. But in reality, she starts to feel your emotional weight. And guess what? Attraction doesn't grow where emotional burden exists. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who have direction, control, and emotional stability. So when you start talking about how hard it is to be alone, or how much you hate being single, or how you wish you had someone to come home to, what you're really saying is, I don't know how to stand on my own. I need someone else to feel whole. And that instantly shifts you from masculine to needy, from leader to follower, from desirable to draining. Look, it's normal to feel lonely sometimes, everyone does, but using a woman to fill that emotional void is the fastest way to make her lose interest. She's not your emotional rescue. She's not here to fix your isolation. She wants a man who already has a life and invites her into it, not someone who's falling apart and hoping she saves him. Now think about this. Have you ever noticed how the guys who seem to have options, direction, and a full life always attract women effortlessly? It's not always about looks or money, it's about energy. A man who doesn't need anyone becomes the man everyone wants. So when you feel lonely, learn to manage it without making it her job. Call your boys, hit the gym, build your mission, heal, grow. But don't sit in her DMs or on the phone unloading emotional baggage, thinking that'll build connection. It builds pressure, not desire. If you want her to feel drawn to you, show her you're good with or without her. That's not arrogance, that's strength. That's what she's attracted to, even if she can't explain why. Women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who choose them from a place of wholeness. 2. Don't say you can't live without her. This line sounds romantic in the movies, but in real life, it's a red flag, and it makes you look emotionally unstable. When you tell a woman, I can't live without you, what you think you're saying is, you mean so much to me. But what she hears is, I have no life, no strength, and no identity without you. That's not love. That's emotional dependence. Men who say this are usually trying to show how serious they are. But here's the problem. It puts too much emotional pressure on her. You're basically telling her that your mental health, your happiness, and your sense of purpose all depend on her being there. That's not attraction. That's guilt. That's weight. that's suffocating. A woman wants to be part of your life, not your lifeline. This phrase also kills mystery. It makes you predictable. It tells her you're overly attached, that you've put her on a pedestal so high that you've forgotten your own worth. That doesn't build respect. It creates imbalance. And no woman stays attracted to a man she doesn't respect. Let's be real. If she left you today, you would still wake up tomorrow. You'd still breathe. You'd still eat. Life would go on. It might hurt, but you'd survive. So don't say something that isn't even true, especially not to someone you're trying to impress or build with. The most attractive thing you can show a woman is this: I want you in my life, but I'm okay without you. That's power, that's confidence, that's what draws her in, because deep down she wants to be chosen, not needed like a drug. You can care, you can be loyal, you can even love her deeply, but never ever let her think that without her, you're nothing. Be a man she desires, not one she feels obligated to keep alive. Say the right things, not because you're faking it, but because you respect yourself enough not to hand over your power. 3. Never complain about other men. Let's keep it real. No woman wants to hear you whining about other men. Whether it's her ex, her male friends, or even random guys online, the moment you start talking down on other men, you look weak. Point blank. Now, this one might sting because a lot of guys don't realize they're doing it. You're out with her, and she mentions some dude she knows. Instead of playing it cool, you say something like, "Oh, he looks like a clown," or, "You know he's just trying to get with you, right?" You think you're being protective, but to her, you're just being insecure. Here's what most men don't get. The minute you bring up another man in a negative way, you're telling her you see him as competition. You're telling her that he's in your head. And worse, you're giving him power. Power over your emotions, over your energy, over your confidence. Women watch how you respond to competition. If you crumble, complain, or get emotional every time another man enters the picture, she starts to question how strong you really are. Why? Because a high-value man doesn't care what the next guy is doing. He's focused on himself. He knows his worth. He doesn't compare. He doesn't chase. He attracts. You might think you're making a point, standing up for yourself, or exposing game. But what you're really doing is revealing your insecurity. And once that curtain is pulled back, it's hard to put it back up. You don't need to talk down on other men to lift yourself up. In fact, the more silent you are about them, the louder your presence becomes. You let her figure it out on her own. And if she ever disrespects your energy or plays those childish games, you don't argue. You leave. This is about discipline, self-control, power. Real men don't sit around talking about other dudes. They don't need to. Their actions, their energy, and their silence speak louder than any insult ever could. So remember, the moment you start complaining about other men, she stops seeing you as a leader and starts seeing you as a rival. Satta 4. Stop admitting you have no purpose. Let's talk facts. Nothing turns a woman off faster than a man with no direction. You can be broke, struggling, even starting over from scratch. But if you have a purpose, something that drives you, you're still attractive. But the moment you admit that you don't know what you're doing with your life, that's when the lights go out. This might be harsh, but men need to hear it. You are not allowed to drift. A man who drifts becomes dangerous, not to the world, but to himself. And when you admit out loud that you have no aim, no grind, no reason to wake up in the morning, you don't just kill attraction, you kill respect. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be rich or famous, but you do need to be chasing something, building something, fighting for something. That energy alone is magnetic. When you tell a woman, "I'm just figuring things out," or "I don't know what I want yet," you think you're being honest. But in her mind, you've just said, "I'm lost. I have no plan. I need someone to help me find meaning." That's not your role as a man. That's not how you lead. And no woman wants to follow someone who's just wandering. Now let's be real. Some of you reading this are stuck. You do feel lost. But you know what? That's not her problem. That's your fight. You fix it in silence. you figure it out in motion. And you don't open your mouth to admit defeat when you haven't even started the battle. Here's some tough love. Wake up. Stop numbing yourself with distractions. Stop hoping she'll fill in the gaps where your purpose should be. Women aren't attracted to helplessness. They're attracted to fire, mission, focus. Even if it's messy, you're the man. Act like it, move like it, speak like it. When you speak like a king in process, not a lost boy begging for direction, she feels it. And that feeling, that's what keeps her attracted. 5. Don't talk about how nice you are. Let's clear this one up once and for all. Telling a woman how nice you are is one of the most unattractive things you can do. It doesn't make her appreciate you, it doesn't make her respect you, and it definitely doesn't make her want you. You know what it really does? It screams, I think being nice is enough. I think I deserve you just because I'm not treating you badly. That's weak. That's basic. That's expected. Being a decent human being is standard, not a selling point. It's not something you announce. It's something you live. And if you're constantly reminding her of how nice, sweet, or respectful you are, you've already lost her interest. Now, here's the deeper issue. When men bring up how nice they are, it's usually because they're hoping for something in return. Validation, approval, sex, loyalty, something. It's transactional, and women can feel that. You're not being kind, you're negotiating. Real attraction doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being solid, confident, clear, bold, unapologetic. Nice guys play it safe. They hide who they are, they seek approval, they wait for permission to act, and because of that, they get ignored, friend-zoned, or used, and then complain about it later. Here's what women actually want: a good man with an edge, not a pushover, not someone who lets her walk all over him in the name of being kind, a man who sets boundaries, who commands respect, who doesn't need to prove his character every 5 minutes because it's already obvious in how he moves. So when you feel tempted to say, I'm one of the good ones, or why do women always choose the bad guys? Stop, look in the mirror, ask yourself, why do I think being non-toxic makes me exceptional? Because it doesn't. It makes you normal. And normal doesn't create desire. If you want to stand out, stop talking about how good you are. And start being a man of value, principle, and confidence who lets his actions speak. Nice doesn't make her wet. Strength does. 6. Never ask if she's out of your league. Let's be blunt. The second you ask a woman if she's out of your league, you've put yourself beneath her. And no woman stays attracted to a man who doesn't see his own value. This might seem like a harmless or even playful comment, but what you're really saying is, I don't believe I'm good enough for you. I see myself as less. And that's a vibe she'll pick up instantly, even if you're joking. It's not confidence. It's self-doubt. It's insecurity masked as humor. And here's the truth. Women don't fall for men they feel sorry for. They fall for men they look up to, even if just a little. When you say, she's out of your league, you create an uneven dynamic where she's the prize and you're the lucky one just hoping to keep her attention. That kills tension, that kills mystery, that kills attraction. What most men don't realize is that attraction isn't just about looks or status. It's about how you carry yourself, your presence, your belief in your own worth. And when you act like she's better than you, she eventually starts to believe it too. Think about it. Have you ever seen a confident man compare himself to others? Ask for reassurance? Question whether he deserves what he has? No. Because real confidence doesn't beg. It just is. Here's the deeper truth. There are no leagues. That whole idea is made up by people who don't understand value. A man with purpose, standards, drive, and edge will always be in high demand, no matter what he looks like or how much he makes. And women can sense that from the way you speak, the way you move, and the way you look at them. So next time you feel tempted to say something like, I don't know how I got you, or you could do so much better, shut it down. Catch yourself. Because all you're doing is training her to believe it too. Never let your words make her feel like she settled. Speak like you belong. and she'll feel lucky to have you. 7. Stop over-explaining yourself. Here's something men need to hear loud and clear. Real power doesn't explain. It acts. It decides. It moves. The more you talk, the more you defend, the more you try to justify your decisions or feelings, the more you lower your value. You might think over-explaining shows honesty, transparency, or emotional maturity. But to a woman, it often looks like insecurity. Why? Because confident men don't feel the need to explain themselves to be understood. They stand on what they say, and that's it. When you over-explain, you're really saying, please don't misunderstand me. Please still like me. Please know I had good intentions. That's validation-seeking behavior. That's the opposite of masculine energy. And it creates a dynamic where she feels like she's in control, because now she's the one judging, deciding, and analyzing everything you say, while you wait for her approval. This happens a lot when men are afraid to lose a woman. They start tiptoeing. They explain every little move, every pause in texting, every decision they make. But instead of making her feel reassured, it makes her question your strength. Because strong men don't ask for permission to be themselves. Let's make this simple. If she misunderstands you, let her. If she doesn't like what you said, stand by it. If she has questions, answer them briefly, then keep it moving. You don't need to write paragraphs explaining why you did what you did, or how you meant it, or how you hope she sees you. Over-explaining is overcompensating, and women don't respond to overcompensation. They respond to certainty, brevity, boldness. When you say what you mean and leave it there, it creates tension, it creates intrigue, it creates attraction. You don't need to be rude, but you do need to be grounded. Speak with purpose, not panic. Let silence do the heavy lifting, and if she walks away because you didn't explain yourself enough, let her. She was never aligned with your energy anyway. Remember, the man who explains too much sounds unsure. The man who says little and means every word owns the room. 8. Don't tell her she's all you've got. This one right here, it's emotional suicide. The moment you tell a woman that she's all you've got, you've thrown away every ounce of masculine power you had. You've told her, without realizing it, that your world is empty without her, that you have no circle, no direction, no fire, just her. And while that might sound romantic in your head, what she hears is, I've made you responsible for my happiness. That's pressure. That's weight. That's unattractive. A man who says you're all I have is not showing love. He's showing dependence. And dependence is dangerous, not just for attraction, but for your identity as a man. Because when she leaves, and if you've built your whole life around her, she eventually will, you fall apart, you crumble, you lose your sense of self. A woman wants to add to your life, not become your life. When you have no tribe, no ambition, no backbone outside of her, she starts to feel like she's babysitting your emotional needs, not building something with a partner. Even worse, it makes you easy to control. The man who has nothing else to lean on will do anything to keep her. He'll tolerate disrespect. He'll beg. He'll overgive. And she'll lose respect for him without even fully knowing why. Let me be clear. It's okay to love her. It's okay to value her. But she can't be everything. Your life should be full. Your mission should be clear. Your identity should be built before she even shows up. When she sees that, she's drawn to you. She admires you. She wants to be a part of your world, not the center of it. So stop telling women they're your everything. Be the man who has something to lose beyond just her. Be the man with brothers, goals, a code, a mission. That's what gives your love weight. That's what keeps attraction alive. Never make her your world. Invite her into it. That's the difference between obsession and leadership. 9. Avoid bragging about how loyal you are. This one might catch you off guard, but hear it clearly. Bragging about your loyalty doesn't make you more attractive. It makes you look like you think loyalty is some rare special achievement, when really it's just the bare minimum. When a man constantly says things like, I'm the loyal type, I'd never cheat, or I'm not like those other guys. What he's really doing is fishing for validation. He's trying to sell his character as if it's a unique trait, when in reality it's supposed to be the standard. It's like saying, I don't lie. Great, that's expected. So why are you advertising it? Here's what happens when you brag about loyalty. You sound like you're trying to convince her of something. You come off like you're using your good behavior as leverage. You make it seem like you think loyalty alone makes you high value. But newsflash, loyalty without strength, direction, and self-respect is useless. A man can be loyal and still unattractive. A man can be loyal and still be walked over. Women don't just want someone who stays, they want someone worth staying for. And that comes from how you move, not how you advertise yourself. Also, let's be real. When a guy overemphasizes how loyal he is, it sometimes sounds like he's expecting a reward, like his faithfulness deserves praise. But true loyalty is silent, it's natural, it doesn't need to be announced. It's just part of who you are. If you're really about that life, she'll see it in how you carry yourself, in how consistent you are, in how solid you are, not how much you talk about it. So stop putting loyalty on a pedestal. Be loyal? Yes. But be strong, be bold, be focused. Be a man who doesn't need to promote his values because his whole presence speaks for them. In the end, it's not your loyalty that keeps her interested. It's who you are when no one's watching, and how deeply she respects the man you've become. 10. Never say you're not like other guys. This is one of the most common and most damaging things a man can say. The moment you tell a woman, I'm not like other guys, you've just grouped yourself with every guy who's ever said it. It's ironic, but true. Saying you're different is exactly what makes you sound the same. Why? Because real men don't tell you they're different. They show it. They move differently. They speak with intention. They carry a presence that makes comparison unnecessary. When you have to say it, it means you're not sure if she sees it. And that's where the problem starts. Here's what she hears when you say, I'm not like other guys. I want you to believe I'm better than the guys who hurt you. I'm hoping my words are enough to make you trust me. Please see me as special. But attraction doesn't respond to begging or convincing. It responds to authentic energy and consistency. When you show up as a man who knows who he is and doesn't need to prove it, she feels that. She respects it and she's drawn to it. Also, when you compare yourself to other guys, you unknowingly bring their energy into your dynamic. You remind her of her past. You put yourself in the same category you're trying to rise above. And worst of all, you show that you're thinking about them, not just her. If you really were different, she'd already know. From the way you text, from the way you listen, from the way you move, from the way you don't chase, from the way you lead. You don't need to explain it, you live it. So next time you feel tempted to say, I'm not like other guys, stop yourself. You don't need her to believe that, because if it's real, she'll experience it. And if she doesn't see it, she was never meant to walk with you anyway. A man who knows his worth doesn't compete. He simply stands and lets his presence do the talking.